We're live. Hello, everyone. We're
Hi.
here. So, I love Karen's always sitting there. She
I
comes.
know. Hi, Karen.
Yeah, that's awesome. From what I remember, Karen's in New York, so she sits.
Awesome.
It's a better time probably for her. She's. Are you having your morning coffee, Karen? Alrighty. So, Gabi, thank you so much for joining me this evening.
Having me, Kirsty.
Yeah. There's Amy. Hello, Amy. Lovely to see you.
Hi, Amy.
Alrighty. So this evening, guys, we are absolutely focused on how Gabi and I and the rest of the Cultured Wellness team support you guys in your treatment plans and being able to find, all of the health and wellness that you want and to reach your goals. So that's our aim. We want you to reach your health and wellness goals and we want you to feel better. And so what we want to do this evening is to unpack all the ways that we do that, because there's quite a variety of ways that we work with people and it can get really confusing. And so the best thing for us is to break it all down and make sure that all the opportunities that you can work with us and then what suits you best. Oh, Karen, did you see that? Karen, you set an alarm. Oh, I feel really special, Gabi. We're super
Why?
special. Oh, that's awesome. Alrighty, so Kylie will jump in on the comments and Gabi's here with me as well. So we will be able to see your questions that come up. So please feel free to pop questions up and so we can answer them. But yes, tonight is very much about the program and what's going on with program. All right, so before we get started, why don't we dive in to some of these questions first, Gabi, because we've got some great questions here. So the first one is, I'd love to know if the Kickstarter program modules are available on their own without the products, as I've already have milk, water, kefir ferments, and other things like activated charcoal and enema kits. So I can answer that one if you like, Gabi. So all the behind the scenes stuff. But before we get started on answering that question, some of you may not have heard of my things pinging, which means that something might be going on. Hang on. Hey team, just checking if you can see the. Okay, cool. All sorted. Sorry about that. I just had the team telling us we weren't live, but we are. So here we go now. Alrighty, for those of you who are joining us, we haven't started. We've just been rabbiting on. This is not unusual for me. But we've just started our first question. So Megan, you're just in time. So Gabi, let's unpack firstly when someone asks a question about the Kickstarter program, let's go through that first because I think that's important and it's going to help us to answer a number of questions. So the first thing is the Kickstarter program needs to be completed by everyone. So Gabi, do you want to explain why we're pretty on to that and why we're so keen on people getting that education and going through those modules?
Yeah, so there is a large education component, and that's probably one of the best things about it because you're setting lots of foundations and we want you to take a lot of the things that you learn in on the Kickstarter into your life forever. So it's not just a ketogenic diet. You're using, you're learning about lifestyle changes as well, which is really core and foundation. So you can't make any changes unless you make lifestyle changes. So that's a really big part of the Kickstarter program. And as I said, it's not just a ketogenic diet. You're using fermented food, so you're changing your gut microbiome. You're learning how to ferment, and it's also an autoimmune diet as well because we take out a lot of things that can affect your, can trigger an autoimmune response even if you don't have it. So it's really, really thorough. And we want your body to be in the best place before we begin any other type of work. So you're really getting the body into that anti-inflammatory mode and working the best way it can before we use herbal cleansers or before we even start treating what's going on in the body. We get it to the best spot. So then it can do exactly what it needs to by the time we are using any type of treatment.
Yeah.
That's a real rundown of why we would want everybody to start on the Kickstarter.
Yeah, because we have found in the past, and we've also seen this before, that if we don't have the structure in place for someone and they don't know, and we'll go into what detox tools are, and they don't know what the detox tools are, they don't know the foundations of movement and lymphatic system, about water quality, don't know the, sleep hygiene, all these kinds of things. It's never going to end well if you then prescribe herbs for someone, Gabi, and they haven't bed that down. That's why people end up failing, because they feel sick, they don't know what to do, and they end up just thinking it's not working, or there's something wrong.
And it's really hard, and there's a lot of things happening in the body that might even scare someone as well. So
Yeah,
there's lots of symptoms that can occur.
Yeah,
Those foundations down.
Exactly. So that Kickstarter program is 8 weeks long. And so, yes, it's very important when you come to work with us that you do that Kickstarter program. It's learnings for life. Like, there's no way that you're going to walk away going, oh, that didn't sort of like really bed down any foundations, because it is kind of like that life-changing.
The part of the program where you make most of the changes as well. And we're also organizing testing and anything else that might need to be done during that time, because it depends on how your body responds. We can really get a lot of information from it as well during that time.
Yeah, definitely. So to answer this question here about the Kickstarter program, when you are on the Kickstarter program, you will use quite a lot of cultures. You will use quite a lot of your detox tools. So if you already have charcoal in the back cupboard or an enema kit or so forth, you will still use them. So we keep it all bundled up together, because we just know that people go through more than what they've got in their cupboard. So we don't do the Kickstarter program separately to the extra additions that we've got with that. So, and also the cultures are included, but you need a lot more cultures than just what's included in that bundle. So if you're doing milk ferments and if you're doing water ferments and so forth, you can still use them and then practice with the other cultures as well. Okay, so with that Kickstarter program, one of our main detox tools as you go along and learn about how to bind toxins in your body and how to get rid of them, is we really encourage people to also do coffee enemas. And so one of the questions that I've got here, of course, is about coffee enemas. We get these questions all the time, and it's really important to understand that the coffee enemas are optional. So if you are like, I want to do the program, but there's no way I could do enemas, so I'm not going to do the program, certainly don't worry about that. There are people that live in share houses, they have small bathrooms. There's lots of reasons why there's barriers to coffee enemas. So, Gabi, did you just want to talk about the other ways that we help people detoxify if coffee enemas aren't on the radar for them?
Yeah, there's lots of different ways. So we obviously are using the charcoal and the clay. And we will also use, so they're binders. We will use, chlorella or spirulina. So they're also chelators, like binders. Mm-hmm. We'll use supplements or powder. We can also just make sure that we're doing some more liver support as well, and making sure your gallbladder is working really well, so that we've got all of your digestion working synergistically to move those toxins out of the body. And obviously movement and exercise is a really big one as well. And, we might use infrared saunas as a prescription. We might do all sorts of other alternative therapies to help you detoxify. It depends on where you're at, So we'll really just judge that as we go. But there are lots of things that we can do to help your detox pathways if enemas aren't a go for you.
Yeah.
And especially herbs as well. So we'll tailor up a herb mix for you if we think that you need it.
Yeah. So many people join the program and they just don't want to do an enema, and then they all end up doing them and end up just liking the benefits. So certainly we understand it's a barrier. Not everyone is in my position and has a husband who's an emergency nurse to help with their first enema. I was very lucky, and of course, my husband being a nurse is, oh, for goodness sakes, he just blah, 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 and they do it, So I didn't get any care in the process, but I at least got the technique down pat. So we understand that.
Oh, sorry, Kirsty, I just interrupted.
That's okay.
They are for detoxing as well. So some people think that it's just to move your bowels. It's actually not. There's a whole nother process to it, and that's why we recommend it, because it's actually upregulating your glutathione production, which is an antioxidant that helps your body move things out. So that's a really important part of it, and that's why we do recommend it.
Yeah, yeah.
Well,
And for me, you know, I was so toxic, and when I started Enemas, that they, I mean, I have such an emotional connection to them, because they meant I would do Enemas and it meant I could get back on the netball court again. And it was the biggest thing for me, was to be able to get back on the netball court again. And I was also able to go back to work, because they helped me so much, you know, with my cognition. So they help with the brain fog. They help with that heavy fluid that you might be feeling. They help with cramping. They're very, very important for people who are really struggling with hormone issues and cycle issues. So, you know, Gabi and I are quite similar in this. Like, I'll only really use my enemas now to support me with my detoxification of estrogen around certain times of my cycle. Unless I'm exposed to something, or I've had a mold exposure, or I just, you know, I'm off, or I've been unwell. But then they become a tool for the rest of your life, but you don't need to do them all the time, every day. You work out when you need them. So, yes, but I have had many, many clients say, I walk in the bathroom one person and I come out the next, another person. And I've had many partners who have prepared enema bags because they want their partner to walk out a different person. So I know one couple where it makes a lot of sense for this dear man to make the enema solution for his wife, because she's just able to cope more and is more resilient and more functional and has got more energy. So he's taken it on himself to prepare the enema mix.
That's great.
It's really cool. I know. Now, the other thing about learning about these detox tools and learning about all the foundations on the Kickstarter program is that everyone is a different kind of learner. So for me, coming from an education background, it's really important that we make sure that there's videos there if you learn visually and by, you know, auditory learning. There's also series of text if you learn by just reading and writing notes and consolidating that. And we also give you references to other podcasts, to research papers. And so there's an opportunity for you to learn in whatever suits you. And, you know, Gabi's heard me tell this story quite a lot, but I've got a lot of clients that work with me one-on-one where none of those learning styles suit, because their brains are so, you know, fogged, and they're so tired, or they've got 79 kids and they work full time, and there's all of these barriers. And so when someone who's got those barriers works with me in the one-on-one space, we just sometimes start with talking in a consult, and then we pad it out from there. So don't worry if you feel like, oh, I was bad at uni, or I didn't do well at school, or I can't learn things, I can't remember or retain things. We actually expect that from people on the program. It's part of the program. All right, so I'm going to fire up with this question. Wondering about coffee enemas when the whole family is on program. Do you have one container holding the liquid in each person has their own hose? Good question. Yes. How do you manage time, space for everyone to do them daily? And what's the easiest way to sterilize them and know who owns which one?
Very practical question.
I know. Did you want me to answer some of those, Gabi, or do you want to?
I think so, Kirsty.
Yeah. I'll break these apart.
Break it down in the families.
Yeah. Although, Gabi, do you want to answer the question about what age do we start with, you know, family members on coffee enemas?
So very young, definitely, probably won't be doing any enemas under, say, 6 years old, unless they are, you know, there's something going on for them and supervised, and, you know, we're doing that for a different reason. But generally that's about the age that we would use coffee enemas. Can be younger. Yeah.
And if it was younger, you'd be working specifically with me and supervised by myself and Gabi. So 6 or 7. So for Well, I had a dear family that worked with me, and they had 8 kids, and every single child, every single day, did an enema. So that was impressive, and the mum homeschooled them as well.
Yes, we've got a lot of families on program doing that at the moment.
Yeah.
So it's very manageable. We've just got to get the schedule right.
Exactly. So everyone has their own enema bag, and the best solution is just to get a Sharpie and just, because it's a silicone bag, so you just get a Sharpie and write down on the side everybody's names. And how do you manage time, space for everyone to do them daily? So you do make up a big pot of the coffee solution. And then it's depending on how many people are in your family, but a couple will do it in the morning and a couple in the afternoon. And it's just about routine. It's like the first time you try and work out how to wake yourself up and get your child off to kindy and yourself to school, and then pickups after school, and you're working out a routine. And once you're in that routine, it works really, really well. So for our family, we've always had a routine that, 3 nights a week, Noah knows that he's doing his enemas. We know to have it all ready. And so we just don't even really think about it when he was on, going through sort of the crux of the program. Okay, so it just is all about organization. And what's the easiest way to sterilize them? So there's a variety of different ways of sterilizing them. Obviously, hot water is the best solution. You can use bicarb and vinegar as well. And then actually putting them out in the sun. So the sun is a really great way to burn off any type of bacteria or anything that's growing on there. And then obviously if you're going to be hanging them up in the shower, you just want to make sure that no mold grows in that space. So, yeah. Alrighty, so we've answered that one. So Gabi, here's another great question about being a pescatarian. So I'll get you to answer this one. I'm a pescatarian with little or no dairy and wonder if this fits with your ketogenic program.
Yes, definitely. You're having a source of protein, so that's good. We would definitely use all types of fish, very suitable. And the non-dairy component, that is also fine. You can still get into ketosis using obviously coconut oil, olive oil, and the other oils that we use on program. So you can still definitely use them as a fat. So it would be workable. In terms of, getting to where you need to, in terms of healing, we can talk to you more about specific amino acids and all of those things in a consult. And wherever there are gaps, we may use supplements that we need to. And, we may need to just keep checking on your ketones as well to see where you are. But we can talk about all of that in your first consult also. And we may do we may discuss bone broth. That's a really important part of our program. So it might be completely off the cards for you, but we can do fish bone broth as well. So there's lots of options for pescatarian. Yes.
Yes.
Dairy.
Yeah, definitely. We have lots of people come to work with us on program and they really struggle to digest meat. They find it really lots of people just struggle to digest food, full stop. But specifically, meat and protein, because you need a lot of stomach acid to digest that. You've actually got to have a really robust digestive system to be able to digest protein and to be able to extrapolate the nutrients and feel good and energized after it. So we do expect when people come and work with us, they find it hard to eat certain foods, or they do have a philosophy around food, and we will work really hard to make sure that we can accommodate that. And we understand that everyone starts where they're at. So yes, on the Kickstarter program, you get a shopping list with very specifics of foods that will nourish you and foods that we feel are inflammatory to the body and it's best to leave them out. And we have protocols on, how the food best be cooked, and protocols on all of your different types of movement and when to eat and should you be fasting or just having a break overnight. And we absolutely break all of that down. So there's kind of don't have any anomalies of what do I do now. And so within those, sort of guideposts, then we can start to talk to you if necessary about what will suit you. So don't feel like, but I've got this and I've got that and I've got this allergy and I've got that. don't feel like that's going to be a hurdle for you or a roadblock for you. Cool. All right. So now, so let's go through and have a talk about what people can eat on program, Gabi. I'm just going to open my window. Really, really hot. So what are some of the things, or what does a day look like for someone eating on program? What's your favorite day that someone would have?
So I guess, having a really rich protein and vegetable style breakfast with maybe a cup of yogurt or some kefir and flavored in whatever way that you choose from the recipes in the Kickstarter. So that can even be leftovers from the night before. Breakfast is a really important part, which I talk to clients a lot about in our appointments. It just really sets a tone for your mood, your energy, everything for the day. So that's how I would start the day. And obviously, if people do drink coffee, a bulletproof coffee is also an option, just to get those fats up. And those foods are obviously, a keto based as well. So they'd be cooked in a lot of fat. They'd be slow cooked. The meat would be slow cooked. So it'd just be really nourishing for your gut. And lunch would be fairly similar. And in between that time, there's lots of hot drinks that you can have, like turmeric drinks and ginger teas and cultured wellness teas as well. We've got the adrenal immune and the sleep tea, which all can do different things as well. And then, lunch would be fairly similar. I love a slow cooked anything, so I usually have that once a day, or that's if it's been on the stove for a while. So that, and just protein in every meal is basically what you're eating on program. And the kefir and the yogurt, you can mix it up with the orange and the apple. You can do lots of fermented fruit in between as snacks. So there's lots of delicious, nourishing food on program. You've just got to pick your favorites, I think, to start with.
Yeah. And then another question that we get asked all the time is, do I have to be in the kitchen all the time? Because yes, you will be making your food from scratch. There's not much that you can buy that's been pre-made to bring home when you're on program. But we have lots of tips and tricks and tools about bulk cooking. And so, anyone needs to bulk cook because it saves time, whether you've got 2 people living in the house, 1 person, or you've got 8 people living in your house. So the bulk cooking makes a huge difference. The slow cookers make a big difference. And then just making sure that you use the meal plans. So we've got some example meal plans that really help to structure, okay, well, what if I eat this today and then I'll have that tomorrow for, for lunch. And then changing it up a little bit, as well as changing up the diversity of the vegetables and what you ferment and so forth. But yes, and it's not the classic ketogenic diet where it's like just constantly eating some form of big chunk of steak and that's it. So that's certainly not what this is about, which Gabi was saying. There's vegetables in there, there's ferments in there, we're using those good quality fats, and making sure that your body's really nourished. And so a lot of people want to come and work with us because they like the idea of fasting, and they think that that's going to work really well for them and that they're going to fast till 2:00 in the afternoon. But most of the time we won't let you do that until we feel like you're nourished enough to be able to embark on that, and that your hormones are balanced, and that your body is really settled and your adrenals are calm. So people do work towards fasting, and they do work towards getting their body into that state of cellular repair. But our initial program is not about fasting; it's about nourishing. So, anything you want to add to that, Gabi? Because that's a big passion of yours.
Yeah, I guess it's about bringing the body back into the natural state, and not depriving it, and learning new skills and relationship with food as well. So that's a big foundation to it. And fasting is amazing. It's a tool to work up towards, I think, unless you've been doing it for a while and you've worked it out. It is really good to learn what your body wants first and get in tune with that, and then implement fasting.
Yeah.
So you're nurturing your body and you're giving it nourishment, and not just eating for the sake of it, eating a piece of meat just to stay in ketosis or whatever. Learning how to prepare your food is a big part of it as well.
Yeah. Yeah, definitely. And so I really want to let everybody know that you learn that on program. So we don't expect you to come and start working with us and you suddenly know how to do all these things, or you turn up at your first consult and it's like, oh, I'm already in ketosis and off I go. And, I've already made 10 slow cooks and all this kind of stuff. So there's no pressure around that. That's the whole reason why you're doing the program. So you learn all of this along the way, which is very cool. Yeah. So there's a great question here about the Kickstarter program and laying it out a little bit more. So I'll just go through each section. So I was trying to screen share it tonight, and for some reason it's just not behaving for me. So what I might do is actually I'll film a little video, and I can take you for a drive through the program, and I'll pop that up into the page tomorrow, just so you can see, when you click on this, what this looks like, and you can kind of sit behind the, the front doors and have a look at all of the cool stuff that's in there. So I'll pop that up for you so you can see. But when you get into the Kickstarter program, the first thing that you will see is a whole module called Welcome to Program. And this is really setting the scene for you. So there's interviews in there from clinical health psychologists. There's interviews in there from dear friends of mine like Kim Morrison about self-care on program and how important that is. And there's also an amazing amount of information to get you kind of in the zone. So thinking about the pantry overhaul, thinking about what your goals and your visions are, and writing them down. And then we have a whole series called the Barometers of Health series, which is what the hell is digestion? And, did you know it starts in the brain? It's not the other end. And all of these great little snippets of information that set the scene and get you ready. And so that's the first thing. And then you'll go into the Kickstarter module. And week 1 is very much about just getting your head around the food list, the shopping list. Then we go into detox tools and sleep, and we go into movement. We do a whole module on the oral mouth the same thing, oral microbiome. And that seems to be coming up more and more at the moment. Have you seen that, Gabi, lately in clinic?
I have, yes. I think there's lots of new research coming out about it, so people are more aware.
I think so.
Yeah.
And also I think, there just seems to either be an awareness, and dentists are more aware now and starting to have conversations about it. I don't know, but it's cool. I know, it's really cool because, someone might come and say, look, I've just had chronic sinusitis my whole life. What does this mean? And it's really lovely that there's been an open, more of a discussion about the impact of your gut microbiome and what's happening in your oral microbiome and your sinuses. Yeah. Alrighty. So we do that. And then from the Kickstarter program, there's also in your little module there, you'll have your recipe section. And so there's a whole amount of recipes in there broken up into breakfasts and main meals and lunches and so forth, and snacks and drinks of what you can have on the Kickstarter program. And so they're really cool. And it's interesting because I do everything on sort of hardwired on my big computer in the family, but there's also an app now that everyone's talking about, which has probably been around for ages and I didn't know about it. But you can actually look at these recipes on your phone or on your iPad, and you can access all of this learning and information on your app and so forth, which is pretty cool. Okay, so once you've gone through that, and this is what I really want Gabi to really talk about, is you will start that Kickstarter process, but you will also, if you are going to get your Microbe report, you'll do it right at the start of that process, and your results will come in within 2 to 3 weeks of you doing Kickstarter, and then you'll go through and have your consult. So Gabi, what does that look like? So what happens in a Microbe review consult? What questions are you asking? What are you looking for?
everything, Kirsty.
I want to know the color of your underpants.
May as well. So basically, I'm just getting to know what's going on for your body and your clinical history. So, firstly, we're doing like an initial consult as well as looking at your microbiome. So the Microbe report is really important, but I will ask lots of questions about your nervous system. I'll ask questions about your digestion, your stress levels, your cycles, your hormones, your mood, your exercise, past traumas, like all of these things that can contribute to how your body is functioning now. I'll ask you about those because all of those things can interplay with what's going on in your microbiome as well. So then I'll relate the microbe back to you personally. So if you look at someone's microbiome map without knowing too much about them, you can see a little bit, you can see what's going on and what that could be doing to them. But there's a lot more context if I get to know your body a bit more. So we will be asking you all of those questions. And so that might take, an hour's, that happens in an hour consult. And we'll also, if you have had any other testing done and sent in, I may go through the blood tests, or we may talk about that, and I can also tie that into what's going on for you as well. And it gives us a really good guide where to go in the program. So because we do have specific herbal cleansers that we will use to help treat anything that's going on in the gut or with your immune system. And so the report and the consult will tell us where we can go from there. And there may be any extra supplements that I think you might need, or you might need to rely on for a little while until we get you better. And then we always want to focus on food as your supplement, but there might be some things in between that you need to use. So that's how a session would look. And cleansers, we haven't really talked about that yet, have we, Kirsty? Is that something that that people were asking and wanted to cover? So we've got 3 different cleansers that we might use. And that they're always done after we do the Kickstarter because of all the reasons that we just chatted about. So there's a Candida and bacteria cleanse, and they're all about 4 weeks each. So the cleanse is basically you run through them doing exactly what you do on Kickstarter Program with your food and your detox tools. You're just taking some naturopathic herbs. That's all a cleanse is, specific naturopathic herbs. So you've got something that might, target bacteria and fungal overgrowth. And then we always use a supportive herb with it. And we will use a biofilm herb. So supportive herb just means it will support any type of inflammation that might occur from taking the antimicrobials. So because as we've talked about before, and when you're moving and shifting things in the body, you can get certain reactions or certain detox symptoms. So that's why we use a supportive. That's all explained in the modules, how it's sequenced out. But depending on what's in your microbiome and your symptoms, we'll choose which cleanse first. So that's the Candida and the bacteria. And then we also have a viral cleanse. So obviously it's going to target any past viral exposures that you've had, but it will also really support your immune system in general. So it's not just for a virus. Herbs are multidisciplinary. So there's lots of different actions that our herbs inside the bottles will do in the body, but predominantly that would be our viral cleanse. And then we've got our parasite cleanse, which is also to target parasites and worms, but will help with bacteria and lots of other processes in the body, including inflammation. So they're the 3 cleansers we will use. They're the biggest ones. They're the big guns, but there may be specific herbs and herbal mixes that I might make to support the rest of your body that we will use as well. And that just depends. But there are big gun herbs that we use, aren't they, Kirsty? And I personally would recommend, obviously, you need to get these prescribed by us because they're herbs, but everyone to do them would benefit. You don't actually have to be symptomatic to do that. It's a really good rejig for the body to do that once a year.
Yeah, without a doubt, especially the parasite herbs.
Definitely.
Once or twice a year, or you've been out camping and you went swimming in a watering hole and are like, oh, I don't feel right after that, or something's going on. So it's certainly, after you get your body back into balance, it will fall out of balance again. So you never have perfect health. You might have for one day everything lined up and everything, feeling great, but things change because your body changes, you travel, you have stress. And so the biggest thing about doing the culture wellness programs, whichever one you choose, is our aim is to teach you to know, okay, I just went through this situation in my life, and this is what I need to apply to support myself.
Exactly.
And so when you finish your programs and all your learning, that's our aim. And so we have people come back, a year later. We've got this great family that's traveling around Australia at the moment in a caravan. And we get the emergency call from Darwin. It's like, send the parasite herbs, we've gone down, which is young kids, and they're just into everything. They're living in a caravan, and it's like, quick, get the herbs up there. And they're doing a cleanse in a caravan while they're traveling. But
that is great.
I know, they finished program years ago, and they still know and still have all of this knowledge to tweak and when to use things, and are always with us and part of our community to have the consult, access to the herbs, and being able for us to still care for them. So I really like that when people know the signs and the symptoms, and they know to get back in touch so we can support them with herbal medicine, which is pretty cool.
Yeah, so you just learned an excellent tool to apply to yourself, when you need it.
Yeah.
So some people may need to stay in ketosis, or they might have specific recommendations from us as well post-program, if there's a lot of chronic illness, but you learn that during the program. You learn how to listen to your body and when the right time is to get back into ketosis.
Yeah, definitely.
Or use herbs.
Yeah. So on the program, we do teach you to get into ketosis, and we do teach you all of these foundational tools. And a lot of what we teach, everyone will learn. It is very much, that's set in stone. But I don't want you guys to feel that it's then this rigid program, because this is the beautiful thing about the program is because, especially the programs where you're doing the cleanses, you will always meet with a culture wellness practitioner, so either Gabi or Jade. And so at that point in time, the program is tailored to you. So whether it's the herbs, or if you're breastfeeding, or if you've got specific conditions, say your kidneys are under stress, and your bloods show that, then we're going to tweak things and we're going to have to adjust. And so, yes, we have our basics, and yes, we have our modules, but it's still very much cared for via that, having your naturopathic consult, and very much tailored specifically to you when you get into your consult. So we're certainly going to make sure that it suits you. You're getting the best possible care. And that's when it comes more to doing the cleanses. We've got a bundle at the moment, which is the Kickstarter program, plus a microbe and a consult. And that is such an awesome one to do, because you learn all the Kickstarter foundations. But when you're about 3-4 weeks into Kickstarter, your results come in, and then you get to meet with Gabi or Jade, and you can ask them all these great questions about what's happening to you on Kickstarter. But then you can also work out where to from here. And so it's kind of like a great way to dip your toe in and get started. And then, Gabi, what happens in that consult if you see someone has got a couple of parasites and they've got a couple of bacterial infections? How do they upgrade to go into the cleanses? How do they move on from that dipping in the toe of doing Kickstarter, microbe, and consult?
So do you mean after the consult, I would definitely recommend a parasite cleanse and potentially a candida cleanse, because the candida cleanse has herbs in there that will target the bacteria as well.
Mm-hmm.
But depending on how or what you're more symptomatic in and what the priority is, I'll choose a specific cleanse first. But in that case, what you just mentioned, Kirsty, probably both cleanses, and it's very easy. I just let Lily know, and then you can upgrade to either one of those.
Yeah.
You can even dip your toe into one cleanse and then decide you want to do the other one later. That's also fine.
Yeah.
So And that also the cleanses come with modules as well, and it comes with all the education and learning at the same time. So you're learning about what they do in the body, and we also talk about that in the consult as well. But you will have so much feedback from your body by week 4 when your tests come back in, that you'll be feeling so much better and probably want to move forward with it as well.
Yeah.
So it's a really easy process, Kirsty.
Yeah, I think so. It's very easy, and it just means that you can get to know us a little bit, and you can find out what the program is, and you can just kind of build up that confidence. So by the time you get into that consult, it's like, okay, I think I can face doing a cleanse or some herbs. And then, we just put extra modules into your portal, that Kajabi portal, and then we upgrade you onto doing a cleanse. So if you just want to dip your toe in, we have set that up to help you with that and to help you along. Now, we also have our Optimal Gut Healing Program, which is the self-paced online program. So the self-paced online program is the Kickstarter program, plus you do cleanses that, so you'll do like a candida cleanse, you'll do a parasite cleanse, you'll do a viral cleanse, and you also have additional, got a bird in there, Gabi.
Did you see that?
Yes, it's huge. Only in Australia.
Sorry, everybody.
Classic. And so in that, because, some people just know, like, okay, I've traveled. I had glandular fever when I was young, and, I've had viruses. People know that they've had a time in their life when they've gone hardcore on the sugar and carbohydrates and the alcohol, or they've had antibiotic exposure. And so lots of people come to us and they just know that they need to do those cleanses anyway. They want to do them. So the Optimal Gut Health Program is the 6-month program where those cleanses are included. And so it is more cost effective just to start on the Optimal Gut Health Program if you're really ready, that you want to do those cleanses and you just want to get, jump in and get started. So there's that option as well. And the online Optimal Gut Health Program is $3,599, and there's payment plans for that as well. And that's the 6-month program. And so you've got those. And then you've got the tailored one-on-one program, which is working with me as your health coach, and then working once again with either Gabi or Jade, having your naturopathic consults. So the one-on-one program is very different to the online program in the fact that we tweak it even further for someone and tailor it even more. So, Gabi, what are some of the conditions that people have that we work with on the one-on-one program? So what do you see? And don't say everything, which is what we see.
But it is.
It's everything.
We see chronic autoimmune conditions, chronic pain, chronic fatigue, really bad at low immunity, chronic gut issues, irritable bowel disease. That can include any of the irritable bowel diseases. We don't even have to see any of those things. You can just be completely brain fogged and not knowing how to move forward with your health in general. Picking up a recipe book is the worst thing in the world to you. So you do the one-on-one and you can get someone to hold your hand through it and really implement those lifestyle changes in. And I still will recommend that to someone who may not be symptomatic. So we'll take that into consideration as well. And the one-on-one is definitely, you get a lot out of it. The one-on-one program, it's life-changing. So is the Optimal Gut Health Program. It's just more for those confident, self-paced people and who probably don't have a lot of chronic health issues as well. Still really suitable as well for people with chronic health issues, but we're going to recommend more consultations with the naturopath. So because, we need to check medication and all of those things as well. So yes, in the one-on-one, we see all types, but definitely suitable for multiple health issues.
Yeah.
Usually stemming from one place. So
yeah.
Yes.
So we, this week, for example, we've had someone start that has Parkinson's disease. We've had someone that started that has 3 kids on the spectrum, and two of the kids have pandas. The mum has significant hormonal issues, endo, all sorts of mental health issues. We see colitis, we see, chronic pain, we see osteoarthritis, we see
mental health as well is a big one too. So lots.
We do kind of see it all. And so we have some great back pocket experience about how those conditions respond to what we do in clinic. So I don't think we've seen much at all recently, Gabi, where we're like, oh, we've never had one of those before. Don't you think? I don't think it's
no, definitely not. It's everything.
Yeah. And I think that I had to catch myself the other day. I was in an awesome discovery call, and I had to catch myself because this beautiful person on this call was sharing like her most personal stuff, and I was so grateful for her to share what was going on, and it was really big and there's so much happening. And then I was like, oh yeah. And then I caught myself because I was like, I'm being oh yeah, that's okay, because I just knew that we could help this person. And it's so common for us to see these symptoms. It's so common for us to see this presentation, and we see it all the time. And so I caught myself. I was like, oh, for you've probably never even been able to speak to someone that gets
I know
what's going on, but I want you to know that it's really validated, and this is the place, and you're really normal to us. You're an everyday kind of person to us. And sometimes I'm just so like, oh yeah, see that, yep, I got that. And so many people come and they're so isolated, and they have had, unfortunately, some interesting care through the hospital system, or through the classic kind of, allied health system. And so, it can be quite full on even to come and work with us, and we know about what's going on for you, and we have great confidence that we can help you, which is pretty cool. Yeah. Okay. So Megan, I think I'll just, when you talk about cleansing and it's simply taking herbs, what kind of time frame are they for? Did you just want to answer that, Gabi? That's Megan's question.
Yeah, so probably, sorry, I've got a bit of back talk coming in. That's why I was stopping. It's all sorted now, I think. So sorry about that, Megan. Yeah, so a specific cleanse might be 4 weeks to go through the whole process of the cleanse, but most probably people will be doing more than one cleanse. So it's just repeated straight after the first one. So you would do the foundation Kickstarter, which is 8 weeks, and then you would move on to a 4-week cleanse. So we forgot to probably mention we do food reintroduction step by step as well. If we think you're ready for it on the one-on-one, and there are modules on those as well. So that can happen after you have finished the program or after you have finished a cleanse. So that's the time frame for each cleanse, 4 weeks.
Yeah. And there's a bit of a caveat with regards to the cleanses. So yes, we have a bit of a kind of treatment plan that we feel like everyone does really well, doing an overhaul with parasites and worms, and an overhaul with that bacterial and fungal overgrowth, and really addressing the immune system through that viral cleanse. But then if someone has chronic, long-term parasitic and worms infections, it may take a couple of parasite cleanses to really nip that in the bud. Definitely. And so, you might come and work with us and do one, and then we might sort of say, Gabi, you're getting attacked by that again.
I don't do anything with you, Kirsty. No.
If we see you like duck for cover, it's all right. It's all right. So like if parasites are a really big thing, and it's just something that you're constantly coming up in your stool test with the doctor, you're constantly having troubles with that, then we will prescribe more. And the other thing is that we do a lot of follow-up testing. So we don't just kind of, oh, we've finished with that parasite now. I'm sure it's gone. We've done a cleanse. We want to make sure it's gone. We want to make sure that we follow up with testing, not guessing if it's gone, and making sure that we follow through with what's going on with your bloods. Are they improving? We follow through with what's going on with your microbiome. Has it improved? Have your markers improved? So that's, that sort of long-term picture of improving your health. We want to track those things. We want to understand it.
Yeah.
And on that, Gabi, thank you for reminding me. So I get asked this all the time. So I finished the 6-month program, then what? So we don't boot you out of the culture wellness world when you finish. So it's not like the computer goes off and then, you're on your own, kid. So we have a post-program space. So once you finish the program, you move on to your post-program space, and that's where you learn about food reintroduction. There's another whole module about learning really cool stuff about how to keep leveling up your health, how to keep tracking your health. Do you need to do more cleanses? Do you need more consults? And in that space, we're still caring for people for years down the track.
Yeah.
And because, we want, and we've cared for people, they've got pregnant, baby comes along, breastfeeding. So, we sort of go on that adventure. So yes, we do programs at Cultured Wellness, but we do programs to teach and to make sure that you have the education to bed these down. But we do run like a clinic in the fact that, Gabi will want to see you and we'll prescribe different things and we'll go through that journey of life with you for whatever stage is going on. So in that post-program space, you'll get more learning, but you still will have lifetime access to the courses that you've done. And you might feel much better and you might want to do a cooking class finally because you've got some energy and you feel like eating something, or you might want to go on and do some breathing courses, and you might want to learn more about how to support your vagus tone and do some exercises there. So yeah, there's a whole nother kind of adventure past doing the programs that we've been talking about in this workshop series. Okay. So Megan's got a question there. So a client with lots going on may have an extra microbe test or 2 or more. Yeah. So Gabi, did you want to answer that?
Absolutely. So we obviously would be discussing that with you in the consult and whether that is achievable for you, but it's really good to see the comparison because then we know where we need to work on, what we need to do in your microbiome and why you're still symptomatic. It might be because it's still there or things haven't shifted, and we might take a completely different approach to what we were doing in the first place. We may have been focusing really a lot on parasites, but we may need to move away from that and just work on rebuilding your gut. So it's really important that we do extra testing if you can. It's great for you as well. You feel more motivated and you can really see the changes that the cultures have made and the program and the lifestyle. So it's good feedback for you to have a retest. There's lots of different ways avenues that we can test as well. We've got obviously the gut test, the microbiome test. We can look at investigating into your bloods as well, because that will tell us a lot what's going on inside your body in your gut. With your nutrient markers, we can see your inflammatory markers, and they will most likely be tests that aren't easier to get with your doctor. We would help you discuss that with your doctor, but we can obviously order those tests for you as well if we need them, but that's all chatted about in the consult. If you need them. And then we've also got, hormone testing. So Dutch testing, which is looking at a large range of your hormones, if we think that that's playing a role. So there's lots of different types of tests that we may do and discuss. And, you might not do any of those tests. And then, we just work on your food and your gut for the whole 6 months. And then you might be ready to do them after. And that can still be guided by you as well. Yeah.
Funny story. I see a lot of people ordering testing just around the time when tax returns come in, including my own Dutch test. I always put that one in there. But, Gabi and I, even if we're feeling good, I will get my hormones tested regularly. anyway as a sort of tracking, and also get my microbiome tested. And Gabi's heading off traveling soon, hopefully, and we'll probably get one tested when you come back, because you'll be exposed to all sorts of different creatures and adventures. So it's really important that we see this as a marker for looking at longevity, right? So we don't want to be looking at, I've got this predispensity to Alzheimer's. I wish I had have known that 20, 30 years ago by tracking what my gut was doing. And so we can find out what your gut's doing now, so we can have that beautiful longevity in the future. And so it is the best investment for your health, getting these tests done, because you're kind of paying for a small amount compared to specialists and not being able to work and having all these other things that we see that people have barriers for when their health isn't right. So
exactly.
Yeah. It's I know I talk about my dad a bit, but it's always so he'd given up working at 65 because he just was so non-functional. He was so foggy in the brain. Mum and Dad were really worried about their super and would they have enough money to retire. And then he just got so well on program, and he went back to work.
Wow.
At 65. And so he's had another whole 10 years of working, and they've built 2 houses, and their super looks completely different now, because he had like 10 years of just being on fire and being able to put themselves into such a different picture, as opposed to 65 and specialist appointments and getting the Alzheimer's. So like the trajectory, one was just absolutely going for it with life, with health and financial goals and all those sorts of things. The other one costs a lot more money. But he balked about his getting his Microbe test. Oh, it's too expensive, I'm not doing it.
That's very motivating.
Yeah, but it meant that he had he'll probably keep going for another 5 years. So he's probably had another 15 years of work and joy from that moment in time of seeing into his microbe. So it's very, very powerful. Now, Megan, I will say that because I know you guys have got a family, so if you've got a family and you're trying to find out if you've got rid of parasites, we can also order a quick follow-up test that's only about, is it $72, Gabi, for the, And so if you've got 4 members of the family and you're really like, how's it going here? We can look at that one for specific parasites to be able to help you and not have to buy, another whole microbe. So there are a few ways that we can support you financially, because we don't want you spending lots of money. Like, we'll help you to work out the best avenue and the best way financially to investigate and find out things.
Definitely.
So there's a great question there about, I just wanted to know, when you mentioned you've been doing ketogenic diet for 10 years, does that mean you have been on a keto diet for 10 years and have not eaten gluten or dairy for 10 years now? So I haven't eaten gluten for about 20 something years now. So it's gluten for me has been a lot longer. And yes, I've been on a ketogenic diet for, I think I added it up this morning because everyone now keeps asking me, because I put a number on it. So now I think Mark and I worked it out. It's been 13 and a half years since I first measured my ketones. So yeah, and before that, it was probably another year or two of learning and understanding. And back then, it was only in the space of epilepsy and brain inflammation that I could find any kind of information. And they kind of basically said, just drink water. I was like, oh, this isn't going to be good for me, because it was there wasn't exogenous ketones, there wasn't information. Like, it's just so cool what we know now. So for a period of time, I was always in ketosis because my body had a lot of work to do. And that's why when you're in that first 8 weeks of the Kickstarter program, if it suits you, and we will work that out, but if it suits you, we do encourage you to be in ketosis for those 8 weeks. And then we work towards, how does your body respond to being in ketosis? So some people will need more carbs than others. And some people will need to be able to tweak things and change things to suit their body and what their metabolic fitness is. So it's not a one size fits all. But I think the question there might be, do you miss gluten or dairy? And is it hard? And, has it been difficult for you? And sitting on the toilet 8 times a day and being in chronic pain is much more difficult than not having a slice of bread. And I just wouldn't swap it for anything. My life is just completely different now. And I don't find it hard at all. It's just my way of life. Everyone knows I'll go to someone's house. They know that I just love beautiful protein and some great veggies. I find it easy to eat out. It's just not a barrier for me at all. I find it easy to travel. I find it easy to get energy. Gabi, you feel the same. You're really active and you bounce in and out of ketosis.
I do. Yes, I avoid gluten, definitely, but I didn't have as chronic health issues as Kirsty had, but I 100% notice the difference when I do eat gluten. So it is very much in and out of ketosis for me. I feel my best. I feel like I have lots of energy. I'm not inflamed. My brain's sharp. There's just so many benefits to learning that tool and then using it as you need as well.
Yeah. And you don't feel deprived and you don't feel like you're missing out. There's
definitely not. I'm missing out if I eat those things because I'm not functioning. Then I'm missing out.
I know, right.
You just learn how to choose food.
Yeah.
And you actually just give your brain that feedback as well. The food actually makes you feel good, so you want it. You learn that trigger as well.
Yeah.
You learn the craving or when your body is telling you need this specific thing. So
Yeah. So you get used to it. And, it's certainly something that when you work with me one-on-one in the one-on-one program, people have a lot of barriers when it comes to how do I tell family? How do I work with this with regards to my kids? How am I going to talk to my kids about we need to change how we eat and what we do? And there's we need to practice these things. We need to have language around it. We need to be comfortable and confident to go to a party and say, you know what, I'm really working on my gut at the moment and I'm nourishing myself. So I'm not going to have 7 bottles of wine tonight, and allowing the space for your friends to support you. And as opposed to thinking, oh, what are they going to think of me if I do this or do that? And so there's definitely barriers and there's definitely things that people feel really concerned about. But that's definitely my sort of skill set. That's what I love doing, working with people is let's be excited about this. Let's think about all the cool things you can do.
Yeah, exactly.
Yeah. So another great question, does the ketogenic diet not deplete from vitamins and minerals? So Gabi, great question. Did you want to answer that one?
Yes. Is that ketogenic diet or are we talking about gluten in that question? Most probably the ketogenic diet, isn't it?
Yeah.
So definitely not. So it wouldn't deplete you of any vitamin or minerals. It's reducing a lot of inflammation and getting your gut into a state where you're going to be absorbing what you need from your food rather than it just passing straight through you. So you're getting so much protein, so much fat, so many vegetables as well. There are certain vegetables that we take out for a period of time on the program so that we can replenish your microbiome, and then that's added back in to feed your beneficial microbiome. But it's certainly not depleting. There's no deficiencies going on. There's no calorie deficit. The body should be getting exactly what it needs on keto.
Yeah.
That should not be happening. And we always check where you're at the start with blood tests anyway to see if there is malabsorption, if there's nutrient deficiencies. By the end of it, most people are much higher on all of those nutrients. So it has the opposite effect.
Yeah. And that's why we're so keen on the fermenting as well. So yes, you're low carbohydrate, but it shouldn't mean that you're low in nutrients. So we will ferment a carrot so then you can still get the nutrients, but you don't get the sugar, or we'll ferment beetroot So you'll still get all of those incredible rich polyphenols and colors from the beetroot and liver support from the beetroot, but just not the sugars. So that's the beauty of this program that you don't see in, I suppose, the traditional ketogenic diets that you see around. It doesn't incorporate fermented foods and things like vitamin C. Like, it's so rich in sauerkraut. And so you can have your sauerkraut and you're often racing and you've just bounced up your vitamin C content hugely by having a sauerkraut on your plate. So you don't just have to have an orange, and that's where your vitamin C comes from. So the fermenting side of things we're very passionate about.
Yes.
That really supports the body, and it's easier to digest, makes it much easier. Okay, so then the next question here that I've got is, and then we've gone over time, so we better get going. So curious about costs. Previously, did the program fees include some cleansers, cookbooks, and enema kits? Has this changed now? After the initial program fee, what other costs are likely to also be needed to be aware of? So that's a really great question. So the Optimal Gut Health Program, which is the 6-month program, that's the one that you will see. And Kylie's on there at the moment. She can pop up a link, or Nicole's there. That's the program that's got everything included. So there's cookbooks and there's the cleansers and the herbs, and it's kind of like everything that you need all wrapped up in one. So that's what you're probably talking about, is the Optimal Gut Health Program. The one-on-one program that we've been talking a lot about in this workshop, which is the one with me, that one is quite different. So you might have seen that tailored one and thought it was the Optimal Gut Program, and vice versa. So the tailored program, which is the one-on-one, is working directly with me in one-on-one consults. So we have 12 consults together, and then you also have 3 consults with either Gabi or Jade. And it's very, very, very specific and tailored to your condition and what you need from us. So it's kind of like that, high contact, high community program. So with that one-on-one program at the moment, you also can, we've got an offer at the moment with a free Microbe test, which is really cool, because everyone's always like, oh, I want to join a program, but then the Microbe test is on top of that. So we've factored that into this one. So that's the offer for that one. And then there's also the offer of the Kickstarter program, plus the Microbe, plus the consult, which is the 1,112. So all of those prices that I've talked about, you'll find in the links that the girls have put up, which is great. And you'll also, there's payment plan options. So certainly look into that, because when you're on a 6-month program, the payment plans are always much better because you're paying monthly. It makes it a bit easier. Alrighty, so if you want to learn more about those programs and if they suit you, then I'm doing discovery calls at the moment for the next couple of weeks. So you can book in, you can just have a chat. Where do I need to go? So this week I've had lots and lots of discovery calls, and some people I've said, you know what, you just need to start with Microbe, Kickstarter, and a consult. That's it. Perfect. You can do that. And I've had other discovery calls where it's like you need to come into the one-on-one space, and you need to work with myself and with either Gabi or Jade and the Culture Wellness team. And we've also had, I had another great discovery call, and I was like, let's just start with a Microbe and consult for you. So if you are really unsure, then book that discovery call, and we can work out with your budget, what's the best pathway for you? What's the best way for you to start working with us at Culture Wellness? So we can help out with that, because I know there's a few options and it can get a bit confusing. So the discovery call will help a lot, and we get to have a chat. Alrighty, I think we've answered everything. Thanks for joining me, Gabi.
Thank you. I had fun.
Yeah, it was awesome.
Thank you for all your questions, everybody. They were great.
Yeah, they're really cool. Very cool. Yeah. All right, everyone. So the offers for the free Microbe test and the bundle offers that we've got at the moment, I think they're available until middle of next week. One of the girls will put up the date for that. So you do need to make a decision about that, or at least have booked a discovery call sooner rather than later, so then we can get you on our books and we can get you organized, because obviously we can only take on a certain amount of clients. So make sure you either do your discovery call or join a program by the time the workshop ends, so we can get you sorted. All right, everyone. Have a lovely evening. Thanks, everyone.
Good night, everyone. Bye.
Yeah.